Hello. So what we're doing here is talking about a mystery, something that can't be known. So we'll never get anywhere this afternoon. We won't get to an answer or a result. We're only sharing what seems to happen in what people experience as their reality, and the suggestion is that there is another reality. So in a way we're talking about two realities really. One I would call the boundless reality of empty fullness, which is a mystery. How can emptiness be full? And the other reality arises in that first reality. So the boundless reality is completely free. It has no limitation. There's nothing that influences it. It's wild, untamed, boundless everything. It's the everything that appears and doesn't appear. And there's nothing that it's not going anywhere, and it has no meaning or purpose of any kind. It simply is what is, just energy, life, whatever you like to call it, life energy. But within that, also uniquely for the human being, arises another reality which the human being uniquely experiences, and it's what I would call the separate reality, the dream, the I am dream. And so as a tiny child, when after the child is born, in the first year or two, there's because there's a boundless energy, that boundless energy can also be contracted energy. So it seems that an apparently contracted energy enters the body of the human child, and there's a sudden feeling of identity, a tightness, a sort of, whereas everything was boundless, suddenly there's a feeling of a center here that is limited in this body. And it's brought about in a way by self-consciousness, self-awareness arises. Suddenly there's an awareness of a self. So suddenly there's a sense, I am a person. I am real, I'm a person. And as the child grows, it meets lots of other I ams, and all of these people, all of this life that it enters into confirms the sense of it being an individual that's real, I am real, and living in a story that's real. I live in a story, I was born, I am living, and I will die. And somewhere there's a sense about that story that it has some sort of purpose that can be fulfilled. And all of that feels real. The illusion for the individual is that it is real, I am real, the story is real, and the meaning and the purpose is real. And my free will and choice in that story are also real. So it grows up in that world, and that world for the individual is normal, and probably in most people unquestioned as being the reality, the normal reality. Some people feel that needs questioning. They want to look at it in a deeper way at that reality. And so they start seeking a deeper answer to how they experience living in a separate world, which for most people seems normal. And so you get people looking at religion, psychotherapy, all sorts of things around at this time, which could give them an answer to why they feel disturbed by living in that reality. What we're sharing together is the way in which that reality grows in the person, how they take on beliefs about themselves, and how they also take on beliefs about the world they live in. And it's possible that those held beliefs can begin to loosen, because there's something else being proposed here. What's being proposed here is very radical. It would not be accepted by most people in the world. But it's a radical perception of reality. And it's suggesting which is even more challenging, that the reality that people think of as real is actually illusory. And that the effort that people make to find fulfillment in that reality is utterly and completely futile, because all they're doing is going around in a circle of different experiences. Everybody's experiencing this, experiencing that, experiencing something else, and everybody is looking for a better experience most of the time. And in some way or other, that seeking for a better experience is made futile by the reality that in what they experience is dualism. It's a dualism. It's a split, dualistic experience. There's a sense of being separate in it. So it's somehow uncomfortable. And whatever that person can do about that is completely futile, because the actual person, the individual, is dualism. It isn't that when the self takes form, it enters something called dualism. It actually is dualism, and it can only exist. The self can only exist in a dualistic reality. So the idea of escaping from that reality is the idea of sort of escape of the me escaping from itself, which it can never do, because that's the only thing it knows. That's the only thing it can experience. So what we're doing here is exposing or illuminating that situation. But the other thing that we're not doing is offering any kind of answer, because there is no answer to that experience. And what seems to happen is that beliefs about that reality can fall away, but also energetically, the sense of being in a contracted body, in a contracted reality, can melt into the whole. Nobody can do it, but that's what seems to happen. So we can talk about anything, even Brexit.
So the contracted energy melts into the whole? So you mean...
It's only apparently. I should actually say apparently before every word, apparently. But the contracted energy is not real. The whole problem for the individual is they think everything is real, but actually everything is only an appearance out of nothing. Everything is nothing appearing as boundless energy, this, and contracted energy, the sense of being contracted.
So, do you mean in a way that there is no tension anymore? No.
Sorry?
Do you mean in a way that there's no tension in the body anymore?
When the whole sense of being me falls away, there's a letting go. So there's a huge relief of that energy of being in this world, and being in a world that seems to be threatening a lot of the time. So that all falls away, because there's nobody any longer in that world. There's no body. There is only what is. There's only what's happening. There isn't another centre that experiences a better sense of the world. There just is no one. It's a mystery. It can't be. The natural reality is that there isn't an individual. There isn't separation. There's only what is.
So what is can be tension in the muscles still?
Yeah. Well, in the body, yeah. That falls away when you die. This is about your death.
So, but the tension in the body also dies?
Well, yeah.
Or
obviously,
only the recognition of the tension?
There's a sense of being separate which is threatening and creates a tension in the body. When that sense of being me falls away, that tension largely can also collapse with it. It's not necessarily absolute, but obviously the whole tension of being separate falls away.
So the me seems to be very much preoccupied with justifying its own existence.
That's justifying its existence and maintaining its survival. It doesn't need to, because it's not real anyway. But all the time it feels it's a me, it's always maintaining its existence through all the games it plays in the world. And if it hears anything like this, it will defend itself against this, what's being proposed here. But basically it's surviving. The me, the sense of self, is trying to survive because it believes it's real.
Does it really?
Sorry?
It would seem that it's not so sure about that. So that it says, something happened, I did that.
No, it's not sure of anything, but
No.
in the main, of course, all it can do is try and survive.
But basically, it somehow knows it's not real.
Sorry?
It somehow knows that it's not real.
Well, there are an awful lot of people I've met who think they are very real in the world. So even if it suspects it's not real, basically its motivation is to maintain its existence. Basically, that's what me, the self, is constantly maintaining its existence and its continuation. If you look at the world we live in, the main motivation of apparent people, although there is no one, is to survive and make their lives better. The me, the self, is always looking for a better experience, or often looking for a better experience. It doesn't know anything else. That's what it's been brought up to and believe in. You know, it's been taught to know. When you go to school, you're taught how to strengthen your knowledge, and the whole of that reality is about knowing I am, knowing you are, knowing the world I live in so that I can manipulate it in the best way possible. The more knowledge I have, the more power I have over my life. This is believed. It's a complete fallacy. The whole thing is a complete fallacy. But for most people, the whole motivation of maintaining their lives and creating better experiences for themselves is the most important motivation. If you think about your people you know or the world you live in, what you see is that motivation acting itself out in all sorts of ways. You know, people are told if you're rich, you're going to be happy. If you're religious, you're going to be divine or blessed. All these different things are motivations to keep you going.
But isn't it quite basic to have been able? Isn't it basic for the me to claim ownership of something? I did that.
They take ownership of their own lives. Yeah. I am a person and I have free will and choice to make my life better, and the life I make better I own. They own everything. They take ownership of suffering. This suffering is my suffering. This pleasure is my pleasure. I own it. Absolutely. And then they go to a therapist and they say that they don't love their mother anymore or whatever it is. And the therapist tells them to own the feeling of not loving them. So it's all about ownership. It's all about becoming a rich man or woman. To feel better.
Thank you.
I'm not sure that I can put it in the right words. What I would like to know, if there is an experiencing of this absolute reality.
No.
So can you describe this a bit more?
So the experiencing only happens in the separate individual. The separate individual has an experience of itself and the world it lives in. So whatever happens arises in the awareness of the individual and becomes an experience for the individual. The individual owns the experience of what seems to be happening in the world. But the absolute can't be experienced because there isn't you can't step outside the absolute, because the absolute is already everything anyway. So where would you step to? What position would you take to be able to be aware of the absolute? And the absolute, of course, is also the relative. Relative and the absolute are one thing. This is the mystery. The empty fullness is one. There isn't an emptiness that becomes a fullness. So it's a mystery. It can't be known. And the individual is a knower, and would like to know the absolute, but can't know the absolute, because the absolute is all there is. So there isn't something that can step outside or be aware of that which already is everything. That's the problem for the individual. When the individual collapses with its awareness and knowing, when there's no more, there is simply only everything and nothing, which can't be known. It just is. And of course, that absolute reality is not real. It's no thing appearing to be this. So there isn't something that can know that. There are teachers that tell you that they can teach you how to know the absolute. It would still be a separate activity. And it wouldn't be a knowing of the absolute, it would be your knowing of what you think you understand about the absolute. The absolute can't be understood, it's everything and nothing. That's what's threatening about this sort of message, because as far as the individual is concerned, what the individual can't bear the idea of, what the individual is more frightened of than anything else, is absence, its own absence. And what it longs for more than anything else is its own absence. So this is a very threatening message for the individual.
What causes the development of the I?
Well, in the story, in the appearance of everything, all there is everything, and what appears in that reality is this, and what also appears is a young child. But the brain of the human is sophisticated enough to abstract a sense of separate individuality, and it does that. The brain creates that sense of individuality in order to protect itself and have a partner in that whole experience of life, because as far as the brain is concerned, it sees the reality outside the body as a threatening reality. So it then takes on an associate called me, the self, to deal with what it sees as the world, as a threatening world. This is part of what people think of as evolution. There is no real evolution, but people think, because they think everything is real, they think there's such a thing as real evolution. And so it's been established by neuroscientists recently that the brain, many millions of years ago, became sophisticated enough to create the sense of a self. But of course, neuroscientists have now established that the self has no choice of any kind at all, or free will. But it thinks it does.
Yeah. So what you say is that the cause is fear.
Sorry?
The cause is fear.
Well, the cause of the experience of fear is the individual. The individual lives in the fear of what it feels is a threatening world.
Mm-hmm. But with animals, you see all this fear behavior.
Yeah, but there is no. Yeah, but the difference is that there is no individual in the animal experiencing fear. There's just fear. So just as we're talking about here, the sudden collapse of the sense of individuality, when the sense of individuality collapses, there's nothing there, no individual there, that would know or be aware of fear.
Mm-hmm.
I am aware of being afraid. There would just be fear.
So that would mean that humans develop this identity, this I, on base of the cognitive aspect or the rational aspect.
It's not. It's neither of those things in a sense. Of course, there's cognizance without me, but me brings a personal awareness and knowing, and that's the problem. The individual grows up and has a personal experience of knowing of what he thinks is a knowing and an awareness of the world, including frightening situations. So you've really got an added party in all of this called me, the self, that experiences or thinks it experiences and knows fear, for instance. But cognition happens regardless of me. Cognition is just a recognition. You don't need a me for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just so that we're clear, I think you used the word consciousness, did you or not? So consciousness, as far as this is concerned, is just part of the I am dream. So the child suddenly is in the I am dream. I am real, and I have awareness or knowledge, which is the same as consciousness. Consciousness, if you look it up in the dictionary, means to know. I am conscious of. Consciousness is a knowing. That is something that arises in individuality. When the individual, and the illusion of the individual is no more, then that cognition, or that, no, not the cognition, but the consciousness and awareness of something that is apart is no longer there.
A hypothetical question. You could imagine by certain brain injuries that people wouldn't have any I identification.
Sorry, say that again.
You could think of people who get a brain injury.
Oh, maybe. No.
Would such a human be in the same state as...
I have no idea. I don't know anything about those hypothetical or particular situations. I can only speak generally about the general state of the me, which is to live in knowing and awareness.
Because you said it is connected with the brains.
Yeah. Well, the brain, me is the brain in taking the form of identity.
Years ago, I have been to a talk, and have been asking you the question if you could say something about compassion, and your answer was...
Could you just move that a bit further away from your mouth? Down
so, it's better?
There.
Away?
Yeah.
Okay. It's
say that all again.
Too close.
Sorry, I didn't
Okay.
really...
No.
You came to a talk, yeah.
Okay. So I start again. I was was asking you the question, what do you think about compassion? And your answer was, compassion destroys the illusion, period. Nothing more. Compassion destroys the illusion. And I have been very impressed by this answer, thinking a lot about it. And I wanted to ask you, is compassion just another word for unconditional love?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
About consciousness, you told us that... can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Do you understand me? You told us that the consciousness is not that.
Is not death?
Yeah, it's not the absolute, what you're talking about.
Oh no,
it's not the consciousness.
Consciousness, like
or awareness.
So consciousness, like awareness, is a function that only happens in separation. So for the individual has awareness or consciousness of the world it's living in, and is conscious of the world as being separate. When that whole sense of separation drops away, so does the awareness of separation, and consciousness drop away with that.
Mm-hmm. That means the consciousness or the awareness is the part of duality.
Yeah. It maintains duality. Consciousness or awareness are the accomplices, the friends of separation. They maintain separation. It's been established by neuroscientists and neurobiologists that, much to their surprise, that awareness is the way in which the self remains or experiences separation. By being aware. By being aware, awareness needs something for it to be aware of. So awareness arises and is aware of a chair. So directly there's one, awareness here, and two, a chair that it's aware of. This is dualism, 1 and 2. When that falls away, there is nothing that's aware of a chair, it just is chair. This is utterly impossible to imagine for the me. The me can't imagine what this is like, for there to just be what is, which doesn't require awareness or consciousness of any kind at all.
What confuses me is most of the so-called non-dual teachers. They talk about consciousness or the awareness.
Before we go any further, there is no such thing as a non-dual teacher.
Okay.
You can't
So-called.
You can't teach everything. No, I'm sorry, it's not so-called. They aren't. Anybody who teaches something is not coming out of that non-dual sense, which is nobody's. Non-duality is a term, only a term, it's a word, like Advaita, pointing to a mystery. It points to empty fullness, the formless form, the relative absolute. It can't be taught, because it's like saying, I am a teacher of everything. There is only everything, and I'm a teacher of it. So I could teach you how to find everything. It's utterly ludicrous. So you will get people who, because non-duality is a very fashionable word now, you will get people claiming to be non-dual teachers.
Yeah.
It has no connection with non-duality
who claim
of any
themselves.
sort. It comes out of a complete incomprehension of what non-duality means.
Why do they say that it's a consciousness?
It's fashionable to say that, and people are attracted to the idea of non-duality. And one of the arguments they use is everything is consciousness.
Yes.
So if everything is consciousness, which is a form of knowing, what does it know? Why would everything want to know itself? So the whole basis of that sort of teaching, like self-inquiry and all that, comes out of the complete incomprehension of the nature of reality. It comes from a separate experience. It glorifies the separate experience of the individual knowing or being aware of sitting on a chair. If you focus your knowing or awareness of sitting on a chair, then you will be more and more powerful and more free and more happy. But all it's actually doing is reinforcing a sense of you being separate from sitting on a chair. Sorry about
So I should keep away from those people.
Well, that's the me. The me is more determined than anything else, as we were saying at the beginning, to survive. So it'll find any form of survival, including the absolute ludicrous proposal that everything is consciousness.
Okay.
There isn't everything. There's nothing in everything, and it can't be described.
How comes that sometimes the seeker may have glimpses of the absolute, but then this seeing disappears again?
Okay, it isn't the seeker that has a glimpse, but the seeker is looking for everything and nothing, and suddenly is no more, and there is only everything and nothing, which he can't know. But it's not there for that to happen, and then it comes out of the other side and has a sense of something that's just happened. Like this happened for me. I was walking along a park. I was a seeker, Tony Parsons, and then suddenly there was nothing. I wasn't there. I didn't have a glimpse. There was just nothing and everything. And then I came out of the other side and just had a sense or a memory of what that was, or what I thought it was.
So the seeker tries to own it.
Yeah. And also tries to get it back. It's like a curse in a way. It's so amazing, and nothing else is like it. So the seeker thereafter, I was always constantly trying to get back to that. Lots of people have, well, they don't have glimpses, but glimpses happen in quite a great deal.
You said the me is the brain. The me is the brain. And when the me collapses, obviously the brain seems to go on.
Oh, of course
so
it does, yeah.
Has it anything to do with the structures in the body system, or this collapsing of the me?
Well, yeah, but don't forget that it's the collapse of something that's completely illusory anyway. It's not real. It's only a construct, a sense, or a construct out of the brain, which is an illusory construct of an apparent self. It's not real. So when it collapses, it's really the collapse of a dream. The me is a dream, the I am dream. It's like a sleeping dream of being a real person. And so when it collapses, the brain obviously carries on functioning, and probably functioning better because the me doesn't get in the way. My mother told me I should drive like this or do that or whatever. Those sort of conditioned ideas that the me has and lives on simply aren't there anymore. And they're simply, the brain's only an organism, an amazing organism, but nevertheless only an organism that functions functions with what's happening. It's a reactor or a responder to what's happening. It's just an organism. Or what seems to be happening. There's nothing really happening, but what appears to be happening. So there's a response out of the brain to that. And that response is also only in appearance. So in this room, there's just what appears to be happening, but also somebody who is aware of what appears to be happening. That's all. Who, through their awareness of what appears to be happening, feels separate to what appears to be happening. That's what this conversation is about. It's about the illumination of that. It's not about an answer, because there is no answer. It's just the illumination of the reality of being aware of what's happening. 1, 2. Division. Polarity.
Anthony, what happens if I sit here, I fall asleep?
What happens if you...
Not what happens, but when I sit here and I
awake.
fall asleep.
Well, then that's what's happening.
Yes.
There's a dream.
Well,
you in a dream. But all the time there's a me there, there's also a me there that's in the dream. So when me wakes up in the morning, it thinks it's stopped dreaming, but actually it's another dream called I am.
Yes, yes.
The I am dream.
Yes, but will something else? I come to this meeting. I fall asleep. Say I fall asleep. Will something take the energy of being here? Will oneness, because my me is falling asleep?
No, there's no intention. Oneness has no intention.
There's no intention.
No.
The energy will not be.
It's completely boundless and free. It's not in the slightest bit interested in you.
No.
Because you are actually what that is. You are boundless energy.
Yes.
But you are, let's say, you are boundless energy pretending to be contracted energy.
Yes.
You don't mind me saying that, do you?
No. That's what
Just for the sake of the question, the individual is pretending to be contracted.
Yes.
And separate.
But in sleep there is no individual.
In deep sleep there's no individual.
Okay.
And then when deep sleep is over, then the individual arises in that, awareness arises of the individual. If there's no one, then there's just a dream. There's no one in it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
When I dream in the night, maybe I dream about some people, but they were not really there, just my dream. And when I wake up in the morning, everything disappears. And
when you wake up in the morning, everything disappears.
From the dream in the night.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And is it like that here also? When I die, whole universe disappears?
Well, you don't die because there isn't anyone. And so what seemed to be there before, again, is just an appearance. There's nothing that's really... It's seen that all there is nothing and everything, and that can't be described. But there's no longer separation, obviously, because the brain function of maintaining the sense of separation is no longer there. When the brain ceases to function, which is death, what we call death, then the all that apparently ends with it is the illusion of the I am dream. It's only an illusion that simply drops away. It's the same as what we call liberation, for want of a better word. Liberation is simply the end of the functioning of separation. And that happens in the living body or at death.
Most of people I met before, years ago, always said you need this experience of liberation in a living body. When you die, this is not no liberation.
I don't think I quite got that. They say that. What did they say?
When you need this experience of liberation in a living body.
Yeah. Why? Who needs it? It's crap. Who needs? It's what separation is just an illusion that arises that is nothing other than unsatisfactory. Who needs it? Is it?
Yeah, otherwise you come back to a new body and all this.
Right. There are many ways in which me, the self, wants to survive, and reincarnation is one of them. It's another idea, I'm going to continue, I'll be in another form, but I want to continue after death, so I'll create the idea of reincarnation. It's very sweet, but it's complete rubbish. It's like karma and, past lives, and all that stuff. It's based, absolutely is based on the idea that time is real. And time isn't real. Time, like everything else, is an appearance. It's not real.
Just one additional question to that. That holds true with gravity as well. It's just
Gravity is an appearance.
just an illusion.
Yeah, well, it's an appearance.
It's an appearance.
You know, you could say the carpet is an illusion, but it's oneness carpeting.
Okay.
So everything is just an appearance of nothing. This carpet is an appearance of nothing.
Okay.
But so is individuality. You know, individual, like anything else, is an appearance of nothing. It's oneness pretending to be two.
But when you say karma is crap, or is not?
Well, the idea
is
of
it
karma.
more crap than gravity? Do you know what I mean?
No.
It's
just a slightly different sort of crap. Well,
so
what's
in a way,
crap is that gravity is real. What's also crap is the idea that karma is real. Yeah.
But, so there's no appearance of karma.
There's no
appearance of karma.
in the mind of the person there is, yes. In a believer, somebody who is a believer, they will believe in karma, and for them the experience is that there is such a thing as karma that's real. That's the problem.
But the soul reality is, it's in the mind. It's a thought, basically.
Reality is only an appearance, but in the individual dream, the I am dream, it's real. So
Yes.
when the I am looks at the wall is a real thing over there. I'm here, I'm real, and that's real. It's over there. When that collapses, it can't be described. There's nothing that's over here. There's nothing here, and there's nothing over there. There just is wholeness. There just is oneness. There just words. The wall is nothing walling. There's just nothing. When there's no one, there's just nothing. And that nothing appears as something. But it clearly is nothing. It is and it is not.
Still, maybe I still haven't got it.
At the same time.
Karma is just a thought.
It's a thought. It's an idea. It's an idea about the reality which some people take very seriously, and they also. I mean, there are books out there on karma, which sort of prove, or attempt to prove that karma is true, that what you did in a past life or even in this life somehow reverberates from where you are now. It's sweet. It's time-based. It's complete bullshit. But it's no more bullshit than the idea that gravity is real.
I see. Thank you.
There is nothing that's real. Everything is an appearance. Everything is nothing appearing. Which is freedom, of course, because nothing, all there is nothing, then what appears is completely and utterly without purpose or meaning. Because obviously it's not going anywhere, it just is an appearance out of nothing, which is a great mystery, but it's also the freedom that nothing has any consequence. The me lives in a world of imprisoned ideas about things being consequential and having meaning and purpose. I have a purpose. I must fulfill my purpose. My mother told me that I should fulfill my... It's awful. It's a terrible... It's a prison to be in.
But if nothing has any consequence, then why come here? Because you say...
You didn't come, but you haven't come here. You haven't come here. You only think that you've chosen as a person to come here. That's a dream. It's just what apparently happens. And coming here is absolutely pointless for the individual. There's no point in the individual apparently coming here because there's nothing here for the individual.
But during your introduction, or your introductions, you say during meetings like this, an energetic thing can happen. But that's based on the idea of cause and effect as well.
But only apparently. As I say, I should use the word apparently every other apparent word. But apparently, there is an apparent contracted energy which could apparently melt into an apparent boundless energy. Absolutely, no question. Neither are real. There isn't anything that's real. It's an appearance.
You answered to him that you didn't come here.
There isn't anyone. Well, I mean, which follows that nobody came here. I didn't come here. There's nobody here. There's nobody sitting there. Or was it you? But there's no one sitting there. And in his apparent house, he apparently came across the name Tony Parsons, and somebody told him quite rightly that this Tony Parsons guy is absolutely amazing and wonderful.
Obviously.
And so he apparently came out of his house, apparently got on a train, and apparently came here, and apparently walked out. It's meaningless. But the me would believe in its dream that it's made a choice to come here because I'm so wonderful, and that's the only part that's true. and then he really got on the train and really came over and really walked up the stairs and is really here. That's the problem.
But the part I don't get is the illusion that he came here on purpose, that he was deciding, or is the illusion that he actually came here?
The only real illusion there is that he is real. He is real and Tony Parsons is real, and he's going to come here and listen to Tony Parsons in a real world and find out the real answer. Just forget it.
In the beginning, you said that the mind is collecting knowledge. The mind is collecting.
The me energy, yes. Contracted energy collects knowledge. Yeah. Well, the brain. Yeah.
And how is it for you over there?
There's nothing here that knows.
I know. I just want to point to something in the daily living. In daily living, when you maybe has a headache, or you need a surgery, so then this is going to some knowledge from medicines or doctors.
The brain uses knowledge to work out things and respond to them. Yeah, the brain, not me. Me collects, becomes a vessel or an energy that knows it's sitting on a chair. That sort of knowledge. Not it knows where London is or any of that. That's just geography. But the me has a sense of knowing that it's sitting on a chair. That's not knowing. Awareness. I'm sitting on a chair. That isn't here. There's nothing here sitting on a chair. But the brain, if something happens to the body, for instance, then the brain will or will not respond to that. That's just a function of the brain in the apparent story. But there's nobody that does that.
So in the apparent story, it also makes no sense whether you use the knowledge which is in the world as an appearance
or not.
To get healthier or...
No. It's meaningless. There isn't any one that gets healthier, but the brain could respond to unhealthiness by taking apparent action to get better, and the body might then apparently get better. All of that is utterly meaningless. But there's nothing that can stop that happening or make it happen. It's just what appears to happen.
Including that you maybe have to trust, also there has to be trust to get into a surgery.
Oh no, you're back in the dualistic world. I am real and I really trust the situation. There's no trust.
So
for trust to be, you need two things to trust, the truster and what it trusts. Dualism.
Trust can happen
in the dream, yeah. In the dream, trust apparently happens and confirms the duality to the me. So I can trust my sense of duality.
And how is it with doubt?
Doubt is the same thing as belief. Belief and trust are things that happen to people. They come to believe in something, and along with that belief is a doubt about its validity. Because they're living, don't forget, the me is entirely dualistic. It lives in polarity. It is polarity. It not only lives in it, but is polarity. So there are always two: good, bad, better, worse, inner, outer, above and below. So believing in something also lives in the polarized world of doubting it. Everything is two, apparently. What you see in the world, what you see in the apparent world that's happening, it's only apparent, there is no real world, of course, but in the apparent world, and in the story of the apparent world, what you see happening grandly at the moment is polarity, polarized forces meeting together and getting angrier and angrier because there's no satisfaction.
So, in this dream of polarity, of duality, I've been thinking about this quite a while already. In this dream, while we think we can do something good or apparently good, I'm wondering, sorry, I'm just wondering if it's possible, if there's something good to make, the polarity has to be even. You know?
Oh, it's all even because it's nothing. Everything is neutral.
Yeah, everything is neutral. Okay, but in our dream, it's not possible to make the world better and better because in polarity it has to be two. You know, two sides of both.
Absolutely.
So
So the battle, the one that is battling for good in the world is absolutely balanced by something else that's evil.
That's what I mean.
Good and evil are completely neutral because they are nothing appearing to be good and evil. So there's no that or that.
Yeah, it has to be balanced. Otherwise it's no duality anymore.
It can't help but be balanced because it's nothing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking in my dream, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I can just leave it.
So the situation for the individual is completely hopeless.
Yeah.
Apparently.
After liberation, you say apparent liberation. You say there is no separation anymore.
Well, it is that there never was, but now there isn't something that was experiencing that.
Yeah. But can you explain, in your case, you're sitting, you see the flower near you, yeah? But there's a difference between you and the flower.
That's what you see.
That's what.
Sorry, that's your projection.
How do you see that?
Between this and that, there is obviously not. As far as this is concerned, this and that are one. So there's an apparent difference. There appears to be a difference, but there isn't any. Because obviously there's only one.
I try to understand how you see and feel that.
I don't, but the brain assimilates that as flower.
Also your brain?
It's not, no, I don't have a brain. You can check that with Claire, she confirmed that. There is an apparent brain, but it isn't owned by anyone. In this body, there's an apparent brain which registers flour, water, or whatever.
Yeah.
It assimilates and registers flour, water.
So there is still apparently separation.
No, but the
from
brain,
the view of your brain,
of what appears to be there. And it's as simple as that. The brain is a functioning organism in an apparent story, and it records and assimilates what's going on in the apparent story only.
Yeah.
And it sees everything in that sense, mainly in a dualistic way. But that's got nothing to do with what we're talking about. There isn't therefore someone there that's taking that information on board, because there isn't anyone there, there isn't anyone anywhere. All there is everything. And what arises in everything, yes, sure, is the brain assimilating that that's a flower.
Yeah. Okay.
What about boredom?
Boredom. Well, boredom arises in the me because the me is constantly looking for another experience, and if the sense of me is in a sense where there is nothing exciting that's going to happen, it gets bored.
But does it feel that it may die if it has nothing
no,
to
it
do?
wouldn't die of boredom, I don't think. I don't know. No, it can't die of anything because it's not really there. So there isn't. And you couldn't put somebody in a very boring room for 10 years, and suddenly they wouldn't be there anymore. But boredom is the opposite of excitement for the stimulation. The me wants stimulation. He wants to be excited. What's next? What's next? Me only lives in what's next. It can't live in what is. It lives in what will be. And it's hoping that what's next will be exciting. Have you noticed that? I remember that. When there is no me, obviously there's no boredom. There's just in-loveness. But it's not anybody's in-loveness. This is oneness. It's bloody amazing, but in a quiet sort of way.
Not in a boring way. So you
can't be bored with that. There isn't anything that is boring.
So restlessness is another word maybe also. Sorry? Restlessness.
Well, restlessness can happen in the body, but there isn't a restlessness of the person or the centre, because there isn't the centre anymore. There isn't something in here restlessly looking for something different. This is it. If you're in a room on your own, or if there's sorry about that. If there's a sitting in the room on your own and nothing's happening, but it doesn't matter because that's everything. That's everything. Can't be described.
So you need no more TV and so on? You need no more TV and so on?
There is no need. there isn't someone here who doesn't need television or someone here who does. You're implying that there's someone here who doesn't need television or does. That's very holy. That's like a monk who sits there. There isn't anything like that. It's not completely impersonal. There is nothing that needs anything anymore. There's just what's apparently happening, including television or no television. But they're both the beloved. So an empty television that's not doing anything is just as divine as one that is. Or it's just as whole or alive as one that is.
And reading books is happening?
So I sit and look at their name. No, I don't. Go on. Books arise, but there's not a lot of, I have to say here, there's not a lot of interest in stories anymore, because if I open a book and it starts telling a story, once upon a time there was a princess, it's so
boring. Sounds very good.
The door has mysteriously opened, which means it's coffee time.